Tonight, we're doing it quite different. As you can see, we're in a completely new setup. We are at the Herman Center in Zambia, and tonight's show will be strictly a tennis show. Paddle tennis, the newest sport in the country. The proprietor of the Herman Center, Henrich Herman, will be joining me. And the other side of the show will be Cedric Babu, the former Uganda Tennis Association president and former captain of the Uganda tennis team. Both gentlemen talk tennis with myself, another tennis star on Beyond the Game. Right, and we are in Zambia tonight at the Herman Center, and tonight's show is completely different from the set that you watch every day, and we'll be talking tennis, or at least a different form of tennis, or something similar to tennis. Paddle tennis is a new sport in the country, and Herman, the proprietor of the Herman Center, Herman Henrich, will be sharing his story on how he set up this place and what's the whole idea behind the sport. And of course, Cedric Babu, known to so many of you, former Davis Cup captain for Uganda and also the former Uganda Tennis Association chairperson as well on the set. Gentlemen, this is a sport that's completely not alien to the two of you. I'll start with you, Cedric, then I'll come to Henrik in a bit. Do you have an idea what paddle tennis is?
Yeah, I do.
Have you played paddle tennis?
Yes.
Here?
No.
Not in Uganda?
No.
So, aren't you intrigued about this completely different sport from what you played? We watched you when we were growing up playing. Aren't you intrigued by this whole concept and something completely different from what you were playing?
Well, I wouldn't say intrigued, but I mean, I've seen it being played. I've played it in other places before it came here. And, you know, it's the fastest growing sport in the world. You know, it's the new ATM. So I hope Herman is activating his ATM well. I think it's a great sport for not just for, it's not segmented. So it's not just talented people that played. Tennis, lawn tennis or tennis requires a lot of time to get really good, and it takes a toll. But paddle is more, you know, it allows more people to participate regardless of age, sex, gender, and I think all around it's just fun. You know, even the experience around it. You know, I was at the World Championships in. I think was it in the UAE in 2021 or something like that, and the whole atmosphere around it is really, really nice, you know. And I think it's a good way to keep fit. It's a good way to you know, socialize. So yeah, I mean, I think it's great.
I read a bit about the history of the sport, origins in Mexico and all that. Why did you think about starting that, Henrik, here in Kampala, in Uganda?
Well, I actually didn't. My plan wasn't to start it here in Uganda.
Okay.
At first, I come from Denmark, where I played. I met Sumaya, my fiance, from here. We moved to Mauritius and tried to figure out what we wanted. Then I came up with this idea, started constructing it with the architects, not physically. And then Sumaya wanted to do shea butter here. Produced in Uganda.
Shea butter.
Shea butter.
Okay.
You have the best nuts for skincare, etc. And she's very much into that. So she wanted to set that up. And then we decided, instead of trying to set it up in Mauritius, I've done all the legwork, then let's go back to Uganda and set it up there. And I got here 26th of December.
Last year?
Last year.
Okay.
Looked around for plots for 2 months. 1st of March, around 1st of March.
You're talking about 26th of December, 2023?
Yes.
Okay.
No. December 2023.
Okay.
So we started there. January, February 24, we looked for the plot. Found it 1st of March. Signed the deal 28th of March. And 2nd of April, we started construction. And 26th of July, we had the soft opening. Okay. Then we had some complications with the
surface.
Yeah, with the surface, and had to do them. and that's why we had the grand opening
On
today.
Saturday, just the past weekend.
Yes.
So were you a paddle tennis player before? Or
Not,
tennis player before?
No, I played a little tennis, but I played paddle in Denmark with my friends, just totally hobby, and just because it was fun.
Why I ask is I try to understand your inspiration. Why this? Why not a swimming pool? Why not a football turf? Why this exactly?
Well, it kind of came. I was playing in Mauritius to socialize, and then I saw that the center had like 80% occupancy, and it was away from there is a lot of tourists there. It was away from the touristic area, so I wanted to put one in the touristic area. And then I started everything and found the plot. They were very slow at getting things done. So in that time, Sumaya developed her idea, and then I said, okay, it doesn't make sense that I set a company up in Mauritius, and she set one up in Uganda. Then we decided to go to Uganda and set both of them up. Cedric,
you've played both sports. What's the difference? Because I've sat here and it looks like a bit of squash with the tennis rules. I played a bit of tennis. I was not at your level, obviously. But what's the difference between this and the tennis that we watch, Novak Djokovic, Rafael Nadal, and them?
Well, I mean, the concept is pretty much get the ball over the net and keep the ball in play. I guess that's the overriding principle. But tennis, in its natural form, is a bit more complex, in the sense that everything moves a little bit faster. Technique is a big issue, and it's been around a lot longer. I think with paddle, again, I didn't play it at a very high level, so it's hard to tell. But I'm sure as people get better and better, the competition becomes harder and harder, and I guess they have the same principles. But yeah, there are a few things that are different. How you serve.
Because for paddle, it's underarm serve. Well, for lawn tennis,
serve. How you volley. How you change the technique on your backhand and forehand. I don't think too many guys play with two hands on their backhand in paddle. If they do, then we'll have to recheck.
If they're in the right sport.
The racket's different. But I think it's the same principle. I think it's a bit different from squash, but there's different forms of paddle, of course. I won't say that form of tennis. In the US, it's pickleball. That's the big thing for them. So it's, the concept is the same. And of course, the natural elements.
Is there a threat? We're having a conversation before we got on the set, and this is to both of you. Is there a threat to tennis, the traditional tennis? Is paddle tennis a threat to the traditional tennis that we've known for so long? Because I think you were saying Novak Djokovic has spoken about how fast growing this sport is. Is there an actual threat to the tennis that you played earlier?
I wouldn't be the right person to answer that question because I don't know that much of tennis.
Yeah, a few years ago, the International Tennis Federation actually had to call an annual general meeting simply because there was a debate between the governing body of the International Paddle Federation and the International Tennis Federation. And we, as the presidents at the time, had to vote on whether the ITF would become the governing body of paddle, or paddle would remain as an individual sport. Fortunately for paddle, the AGM voted that they should manage their own sport. Now, where is the conflict? I think the conflict comes in the fact because it's very intense. It's a short form. Is that ordinary, and of course because of the social impact, sponsors like to gravitate to things that move really quickly and have a lot of, I would say, young or youngish fans, whereas tennis has pretty much had the same fans for the last 40 years. So whilst the advantages, I think this was just a nicer, quicker version for sponsors. So there was a gravitation towards paddle by the sponsors, which of course caused a bit of unease because tennis is much longer. Like right now as we speak, they're playing the Australian Open. And I just left Gael Monfils and Shelton in the fourth set. That's 2 hours, and you're like, well, I still have to go to work. But if it was a paddle match, I would have watched 6 matches in that time. Probably would have sat watching it, having a drink, listening to music. So that's where the conflict is. But will it be bigger than tennis? Probably. I mean, tennis is big. It will be bigger, but at the end of the day, I guess tennis will sit where it sits, and paddle will sit where it sits.
You were saying, Henrich, something?
Yeah, on that one, will paddle be bigger than tennis? I can only speak for Denmark, where I have the crisp numbers. In Denmark, in 2019, we had 100 courts. Today, we have, or in 2023, we had 1,500 courts, 1,500 courts.
The traditional tennis courts?
No. This
Paddle?
is paddle. Yeah. In 4 years, it's shot up. There are 80,000 people playing tennis in Denmark. There are 320, 350 people, 1,000 people playing paddle. So it's like 4 times bigger than tennis in Denmark already, and that happened in 4 years. And I'm getting goosebumps now because this sport is exploding everywhere.
So perfect timing for you. But in the Ugandan context, because you were chairman of the Uganda Tennis Association for a very long time, where does this sport fall in this country? We're trying to have that conversation because we have the Uganda Tennis Association, we have the Uganda Table Tennis Association. I know table tennis is a bit different, it's a table, but where would this sport fall? Do they need to create an association for it, or does it fall under the Uganda Tennis Association?
Well, I guess it's entirely up to the proprietors of the paddle community if they want to form their own federation. Because the International Tennis Federation is not the governing body of paddle, there is a gap where there can be the Uganda Paddle Association, which allows the members of the paddle community to form their own federation, their own constitution, their own rules, number of courts, membership fees, and so on and so forth. I personally would recommend that paddle forms their own federation.
Okay.
That might not sit well with the Uganda Tennis Association, but again,
they're not watching tonight.
Well, even if they were, I mean, I'm just saying that it just makes it's logical.
Yeah, it makes more sense. Yeah.
I hope one day I'll get the time to come and play paddle in Herman's place.
Would you want to be a part of their association if they created one, or their federation?
Well, I don't know about the federation.
Yeah.
But I'll be interested in playing first.
Into playing
before I start telling Herman what to do.
So you picked the idea. You like the idea of having your own federation?
Yeah, he's not leaving here until I get his number. And
you need to sign the deal right now. Get him as your vice chairperson already. All right, guys, we're going to jump into... No, not yet.
I'm too old to be a vice.
You strictly want to be a chairperson.
I'm not.
But you're going for vice somewhere else. We'll talk about that later on. All right, gentlemen, we're going to go into a quick break. When we get back, the conversation continues. You're watching Beyond the Game Alive on NBS Sport.